Hello everyone, this is Moby's Primal, and I am back with the final round in the Buckeye Battles Warhammer Fantasy Battle Tournament. This final game against another very balanced Empire army, and I absolutely love the final game of these tournaments because unless you know you're kind of in the running for first or second or third or something like that, you can really let your hair down and just enjoy the game, and there's no stress involved. Not much to say about the scenario. It's a straight up battle line with basic pitch battle rules. So 2,400 points. Let's get it on. On the right, my opponent has a unit of 6 pistolers up front, and then 2 mortars way in the back. Then, excuse me. Then his main battle line is formed up by 9 Inner Circle Panther Knights, who are joined by a Warrior Priest. Unfortunately, I didn't collect a army list from this player, and I don't like doing that because I like to be able to say, I think it's worth the honor of letting my opponent know that, hey, I care about what your character kits are and stuff like that. So, but unfortunately, I didn't grab one for him. So he's got a Warrior Priest. I don't know what the kit for any of the characters are. The middle has a small Free Company unit, and then his great big Swordsman unit, what plays a Bunker 2. Let's see. There's a level 2 Beast Mage, a level 2 Shadow Mage, a BSB, a Witch Hunter, and his General, Holy Cannoli. Again, like I said, I'm not sure what all the kit on the characters. I'm sure there's a Dispel Scroll and a Speculum and that armor that's 1+ rerollable or something like that. I don't know. On the other side of his mega unit, he has 12 crossbowmen, and then up on the hill is a great cannon flanked by 12 handgunners, and then 4 Demigryph Knights with full command. So my army from the left sees both trebuchets snuggled in the corner, supported by archers, my Knight Lance and the Pegasus Knights. And then my castle in the middle is a little bit different than normal. Usually the honor guard go in the center so I can work flank charges from either direction. Instead, they're on the flank because I'm really worried about that mega swordsman unit. Behind that woods is my second fast cavalry and then the second small archer unit to round everything out. Okay, so Empire go first, and basically everything without a gun begins moving forward, but the Knights play safety a bit, not to stick their necks out there too far as to get surprised by my Knights, like what happened in the first round if you watched that battle report. The Pistoliers on the right swoop up, and they start shooting at my Knight Lance, but that's about it for turn 1. Nothing else major happens. So go right into Heartless 1. I move my infantry up a bit, but my fast cavalry move back. I need them to slow up the Demigryph Knights for a turn or two, and I haven't got really anything to answer them on that left flank. Tangent time. I really do like the Demigryph models, and it makes me curious as to what GW has in store for Bretonia when their book is redone like a decade or two from now. Okay, end of tangent. On the right, my archers charge the Pistoliers instead of shooting them. No one ever expects that. And I move my Knights and Pegasus up to start threatening enemy units and war machines. I also surge my fast cavalry up basically to get in the way of things. And then during shooting, my trebuchet clips the mega unit, kills 7 guys, and then in melee, my peasants kill a pistolier. They take 1 in return, and then I have charge flank standard, break the enemy fast cav, and then they lose a few more models to dangerous terrain. So I can't really kill them with swords, but I can kill them with, well, I guess swords when they pass through me. That does it for Heartless 1. Alright, so the Empire starts off turn 2 by charging my archers with their Gryph Knights. Also, the Free Company shoot out and charge the fast cav. At least the fast cav sacrifice held the Knights in place for a turn. And aside from that, the swordsmen advance, and in shooting, I lose a couple more Knights to a mortar. Then in hand-to-hand, the Free Company kill only 1 fast cavalry, which was surprising. Of course, they win combat, but they can't catch my guys. And then along the left flank, unsurprisingly, Gryph Knights destroy my archers and face up my fast cavalry. So that's why I moved those guys back, because, they're just going to buy me another turn before those Griffin Knights start getting into my peasant blocks. Bottom of turn 2, Knight Lance charges the Free Company, who try to run away, but they don't flee very far, and they get cut down. Now my Knights are in a dangerous position to be countered by the Inner Circle Knights. And, I'm a little worried about that, but I think with, maybe a buff, Weiss's Wild Form, I should be okay. Then in the center, my honor guard shoot up to a position that if the swordsmen charge, it'll set up a terribly good flank for my other 2 peasant infantry units. Also, my Pegasus charge up and kill a mortar very easily. My trebuchet risks some close air support here and soften up that knight unit quite nicely. And I did get that Weiss's buff on my Knights to make that charging my Knights with his Knights rather risky for him. So we go into Empire 3, and he doesn't take the bait. Instead, he risks several dangerous terrain rolls, which I don't think did a single wound here, to catch the Pegasus Knights off guard, which I think was actually a better move than the 2 presented Knight targets. The Swordsmen, however, don't take the bait, and instead the supporting missile units just start to really pick on my Honor Guard unit. In combat, my Pegasus are beaten and flee, but luckily the Inner Circle Knights fail their restrain roll and they go off the table with them, so that's cool because it buys me another turn without those guys charging elsewhere. If he hadn't failed that, he would just turn around and then my big Knight Lance would be in check, and that would not be good. Meanwhile, in the back, the Griffins take out my fast cavalry. You know, like I said, I got them in the way to slow them up a bit, and you know this is shaping up to be a great final game. All right, so back to Heartless turn. Instead of charging the front of my huge swordsman unit with my Honor Guard, I do a swift reform and then dart past those swordsmen, replacing the stopper unit with one of my halberdier units. I also rush my knights in behind the swordsman, and now my opponent pretty much has little he can do before I start killing all his missile rearguard. On the right there, my fast cavalry had rallied from before and gotten into position to shoot the remaining pistoliers, but it's not necessarily when Sam skewered him with an amber spear. Unfortunately, I angled those fast cav poorly, so they can't charge the mortar crew now in their next turn. And that's pretty much it for me. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering if I should have angled my knights so I could have rear charged those swordsmen instead of putting so much pressure on all the missile troops. Empire 4, a combo charge is declared with the swordsmen in the front of the peasants and the Griff Knights in the flank, but the knights fail it. They needed a 6, and on the first roll, my opponent rolled a 4, 2, and a 1, but the 2 was angled on that piece of terrain, that wood piece right there, so it had to be re-rolled, and it came up as a 1. I thought this was super sporting of my opponent to accept that as an edge dice. You know, we're doing that all the game, where if there was just any kind of like dip on a dice or something like that, it would be considered an edge dice to be re-rolled. So why stop then when it's something so critical? You know, you have a 2, if the 1 happens, you fail, but he did it, so I thought that was pretty sporting of him. The Inner Circle Knights come in on the right and start staring down my archers, and then in shooting, well, you notice something isn't here, right? All the missile troops started to beat on my Honor Guard and force a panic check, and whoopsie daisy, those guys flunk it. I think they were within range of Delita, so they were a leadership 9, but not within range of a Jorah, so they didn't have a reroll, and they failed it, fled all the way back to here. I don't think I lost any from dangerous terrain, but you know, at least I still have my knights to kick around all those missile troops. And then in combat, all the characters in that unit go nuts on my peasants, but the swordsmen don't do a terrible amount of damage. With all my attacks, I'm just going after characters. I know I can't win the combat, so I may as well get points where I can. And after the dust settles, I'm barely steadfast, stick around this turn, but I think I did wound that the Witch Hunter one time. Alright, so Heartless 4, and my opponent does some pretty sneaky fleeing when my knights charge his missile troops, and I'm unable to catch anything, which sucks. But it does mean that there will be no shooting from this side of the table next turn, as both the infantry units are fleeing, and that cannon panicked when the crossbowmen fled through them. Then my peasants rally, and I line up Sam to skewer the knights with another amber spear, just like I did with the fast cav, and that's about it. In combat, the numbers get too much, and my peasants break and flee with the swordsmen holding fast, so they can charge in the next. So they can charge the next block in Empire 5, which is exactly what happens. The Griff Knights charge in on the fleeing peasants and cut them all down. And in the back there, nice blurry photo. The crossbowmen continue to run, but the handgunners rally. In combat, I lose 6 peasants, but cut down the Shadow Mage, and then I stick thanks to being steadfast. And we go into Heartless 5. My fast cavalry charge the mortar way in the back, and Sam lines up for yet another amber spear on the knights who whomped my archers last turn. I just cannot get enough dice, or I keep failing it. I don't know. He keeps stopping it. I can't get that dang spear to go off. My trebuchet does fire indirectly and kill 2 Griffin Knights, but they pass their leadership check thanks to the nearby general. That would have been super, super nice if those guys chickened out and left me to be alone with just the swordman fight. And then in combat, of course, my knights blast through that cannon that they charged, and my peasant yeomen kill off the mortar. And in the center, I break and flee, but I'm not quite captured yet. All right. So it's the last turn of Buckeye Battles 2012. and all 3 characters charge out of the swordsman unit to get a Jorah, since the unit itself couldn't get past the runes because of the way that it they angled on the pursuit to catch the infantry unit. And I thought it'd be more heroic to hold and fight it out against one of the characters in the challenge than to flee. So let's see, there's the general in there. I know he's got a great weapon. He's got meteoric armor or something like that. The witch hunter's only got a wound on him, and that warrior priest in there, they're all against her, all on one. And then between the 2 knights, they do some sneaky combo charges to panic off my last infantry block. And in magic, that beast mage that darted up there put a savage beast of Horos under the general, so we can all kind of guess on who's going to accept the challenge from a Jorah. Because he has, let's see, 6 attacks now, and he's like strength 9. Holy crap. But what's even more holy crap is I ward saved 3 of the 4 wounds that guy did. So I was still alive until I failed my break check, and I died to the last stand. So, alright, it's the very last turn of the tournament. My knights charge and crush the crossbowmen, and that's pretty much it. Everything else, I don't want to risk blowing up my mages' heads or destroying a trebuchet. So the tournament, or the table, looks like this, and it turns out to be a very minor victory to the Empire. I think he beat me by like 198 points or something like that. So just an absolute fantastic way to finish out the tournament. I ended up landing about the middle of the pack of 96 players. But the important thing is I had a lot of fun, and I think all my opponents had a lot of fun, so that's good too. And I hope you enjoyed all the fun, or had a lot of fun following all these reports. And if you haven't, please go check out Once Bitten 360s. He was at the tournament doing reports too, and I think he posted the reverse side of our game in round 2. So it's interesting to watch that from both players' perspectives. One final parting shot is I am absolutely tired of running peasant Zerg castles against my army opponents in these games, especially 5 rounds back to back with 12-inch battle line deployment. So expect some changes to my Heartless Bretonnian roster in the near future for the next battle reports. So that's it. As always, I hope you enjoyed it.